Hello, and welcome to First Unitarian Church of Providence, where we love beyond belief. I'm Neil Bartholomew, the chair of the Worship Committee, which hosts a series of services during the summer when our senior minister is away. These services are led by lay members and friends of the congregation, and music is also provided by members and friends of the congregation. In this summer of 2020, as it is not yet safe for us to come together in the meeting house, we are providing the services as a series of online videos. We hope that you will enjoy the variety of wisdom and talent that our congregation has to offer. And now, please join in our unison reading as we light our chalice. This light burns also in our hearts, and it lights our path towards harmony, justice, and hope for all. Welcome to our Sunday morning service for August 2nd, 2020. Our presenters today are three members of our congregation who are also members of Extraordinary Rendition Band, or ERB, a local community of activist musicians. Dana Borrelli-Murray is a nonprofit executive director, school board president, mom, foster mom, spouse, and saxophonist with ERB, where she creates raucous noise for social causes. Kim Ziegelmayer is a serial entrepreneur and mother with a background in environmental management and bangs a wicked bass drum. Jack Rusley is a physician and researcher, dad and husband, and occasionally becomes one with the music while playing the trombone. Their presentation about the similarities of our congregation and Extraordinary Rendition Band will explore questions of building community through art, the nature of participatory consciousness, definitions of figure and ground, performer and audience, and the ways in which those definitions become blurry, as well as ways to put the 7 Unitarian Universalist principles into practice in daily life. One thing in their talk that brought me joy was the way in which they combined the standard wording of those 7 principles with the simplified wording for children. It struck me as very much in ERB's spirit of accessible participation for all. Another thing that brought me joy was that all 3 of them talk about how welcomed and appreciated they felt when they first arrived at First U Providence. 20 years ago, when I first arrived, that was not the case. A conscious decision to change how we behave, to become more welcoming and more inclusive, seems to have paid off. This is a conscious decision that we can make not only as a group, but as individuals. We can all commit to becoming more open, more welcoming, more inclusive, and, let's not forget, more joyful.
Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday. My name is Dana Borrelli-Murray, and I'm really honored and happy to be here with you today. I'm going to kick off our session. So the first time I heard Liz speak, I cried. I cried at the enormity of the space, the nodding heads in the crowd, the organ swells, the honesty and authenticity of the moment. I felt really alive in a way that I've experienced in my life, mostly as a musician and a member of musical communities. I think I cried because I felt very full circle, like I had come back to a center, a space I needed to breathe and stop and pause and breathe again. A soundtrack has been playing throughout my life. My earliest memories are a mix of Bobby Darin and Beach Boys, the Beatles and Glenn Miller, my dad's brushed hi-hat fills with his big band, my papa's scrolled notation and note and gig books, and self-whittled clarinet reeds. For me, music has never been about perfectionism. Contrary, I understood from an early age that music was a participatory activity, an experience, a community builder. As Rob Bell says in What We Talk About When We Talk About God, there are other ways to know than the only knowing of the intellect. But still, I studied it through my childhood with multiple instruments in college and through grad school. As an anthropology PhD student, I was drawn to the intersection of music and community, music and religion, music as communication. It just all made sense to me. What part made the most sense? The groove, that feeling, that very present, very real, very alive feeling of being. One of my favorite academics, Charles Kyle, an esteemed activist, musician, educator, and applied sociologist, sociomusicologist, and what he would call a groovologist, wrote, "All humans were full participants once upon a time, and I believe we are still experiencing much music and perhaps some other portions of reality this way. I also believe we need more of a participatory consciousness if we are to get back into ecological synchronicity with ourselves and with the natural world. At the very least, it is important to recognize this capacity in human beings to defy logic, to defy so-called laws of contradiction, and to insist upon identity, to insist upon participation. If you can participate once in one song, dance, poem, or write, you can do it more times and in more ways until you are at one with the entire universe, or at least large chunks of it." I measured this. Along the way, I wrote a master's thesis about this phenomena through the lens of sacred harp singing. I conducted fieldwork in rural Alabama and sang alto with shape note singers, living with them and interviewing and digging deep into the feeling that came over them, us, me, when we sang in the square together. Life led me in a different direction after grad school, and I found myself back here in Rhode Island, running a nonprofit, working in education, and desperately seeking a community. Through a very lucky turn of fate, I met the Extraordinary Rendition Band. Maybe some of you will understand my reference when I say I was the little bee girl in the Blind Melon No Rain video, and I had found my bee people. ERB formed in 2010 by a group of ragtag musicians longing for a community with which to create noisy, raucous community change. Our name is an intended double entendre. It refers to the versions of the song we play while drawing critical attention to the practice of extraordinary rendition, a government-sanctioned practice of abduction carried out during the George W. Bush administration. Over 10 years, we've had well over 100 bandmates and traveling musicians lend a song, a performance, or a lifetime with us. ERB believes that music has the power to create positive change. We work and play to build community and share our love of music with each other and our audiences. Celebrating the heritage of joy of brass, drum, marching, and roving band shows and their rich, diverse history of styles, influences, cultures, and purposes, we strive to play songs that celebrate those histories, all the while having a great time playing together and with our audience. But what is an audience exactly? In ERB performance, we explicitly break down the very Western ideal of a divide between the performers and the listeners. The audience is as much a part of the moment, the event, as those blowing horns and banging on drums. The back channel cues alone, the bobbing heads and hoots and hollers, send an energy right back to the performers. I like to think of this symbiotic relationship as co-participation. This is not unlike what happens at First U, where we are all called to do the work and lean in. Throughout this joyous ride, I think I've been chasing for that feeling of belonging through it all. For me, it is a deeper feeling of being present and secure and connected to a community while providing free guerrilla-style music in the streets whenever possible. It is this collective moment of uplifting our community and making the experience of saving the world a little bit more fun that I feel the most alive. And in some way, First U and ERB are the yin and yang of my spiritual centering. They weave and overlap in the strangest and loveliest and most logical of ways. During my Pathways to Membership class, I learned more about the relationships of the Unitarian with the Universalist, and the history precariously balancing words with actions, deeds with creeds. In ERB, we try to hit that note as well, supporting the musical growth of individuals, organizational mission and health, and playing, quite literally, loudly and proudly for actions we desperately want to seek in the world. Before I turn our attention to ERB and the 7 UU principles, let's take a COVID-style musical break. just as all of you have shifted to your expectations about what's possible in this worldwide pandemic, so have we. So I hope you enjoy this Brady Bunch style performance of our song Red, White, and Shiny, and we'll be right back. Hi, everyone. We're back. For this part, I've pulled in my bandmates and friends and fellow first viewers, Kim and Jack. We're going to go a step deeper and connect ERB norms to the 7 principles. ERB's tagline is "One note is better than no note," which pretty much embodies Principle 1. The first principle speaks to the inherent worth and dignity of every person. ERB is this ragtag group with ages from birth to 80 all represented. And we are, unjuried. We have no tryouts. All are welcome because we are this beloved community. I'm going to turn it over to Jack to talk about Principle 2.
So thanks, Dana, and it's really a pleasure to be here with everyone. So when I think about the second principle, which is justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, I think about the intentional community of ERB. Intentional communities are more than just gatherings of people, even like-minded people. While the ragtag nature of the band may make things that we do seem random or spontaneous, and certainly there is a lot of spontaneity in what we do, the community of members and friends is actually built on a thoughtful and reflective practice that embodies justice and equity. For example, there's no leader in the band. There's a process by which each rehearsal is led by and guided by a different member who volunteers. And new songs and set lists are voted on and chosen by the group. We work to center the voices and music of our members from underrepresented groups. And thinking a little more about compassion, I think this is really evident in every rehearsal that we have. And the voices encouraging less confident members to go for that solo, and the rise in food that we share with each other and getting to gigs and to rehearsals, and the support that we provide to bandmates going through health crises or personal tragedies, and the care in which the band greets new members. I experienced this welcoming more than 2 years ago when Dana invited me to join the band after I shared with her that my trombone had been gathering dust for the last 20 years. I had a similar experience when I came to First U for the first time. I felt warmly welcomed, a sense that people wanted to know me and understand me, and they were happy to see me. And in both places, I really felt like these are my people. So I'm going to kick it over to Kim now to talk about the next principle.
Jack, thank you very much. And I would like to say also, I'm so very pleased that we have this opportunity to share with our community at First U, our extraordinary rendition band community, because they're so similar and parallel. It's quite amazing, actually. So I'm going to talk about Principle 3, which we all grow by learning, or acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth. That's the grown-up version. So ERB, like First U, is many, many beautiful and positive things to me. In ERB, from making music and performing together to our democratic, consensus-driven decision-making, one of the things that I treasure most about this incredibly loving, supportive, and accepting nature of our band is just that. I began with the band as a washboard player, having no musical training or experience with any instruments. The veteran washboard player, Greg, welcomed me from day one, making gentle suggestions here and there, but always encouraging me to be true to what I felt. When the opportunity arose for me to learn the bass drum, I jumped at the chance. Though I'm sure my bandmates may have felt frustrated at times as I learned, I never once felt anything remotely negative from anyone. I heard and felt only love, encouragement, support, and praise on my journey. Being part of ERB and learning to play music has not just brought joy to my life. Like First U, it has literally expanded my being in every way, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and socially. ERB members are encouraged to be their best selves and grow musically and personally. People try new instruments, beginners play alongside professionals. This encouraging, safe community is part of a bigger system of honk bands around the world. We've traveled around the country to perform with other honk bands, collaborating on performances, providing travel stipends, and housing, bikes, and beers for each other. Now I'd like to talk about the fourth principle, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. This principle, in my mind, is tied very closely to the third principle, particularly as it relates to my experience with ERB. Though we are an activist band and a progressive group of people, there are many varied opinions, truths, and life experiences among us. Because we are leaderless, democratic, and operate by consensus, the process of decision-making involves making the space for all opinions to be heard. I've taken part in many, many discussions with ERB, from dealing with routine logistical concerns to very deep and intense times where members, including myself, have shared their truths, knowing that others in the band would disagree. It takes courage, at least for me, to speak up. Sometimes I feel it is even more scary in a group where you feel loved and supported, because there is always the very human fear of being rejected for revealing our truths to others. Just as in my journey with learning to play the bass drum, this beloved community has always shown love, support, and encouragement to each other on our individual human journeys, as well as our journey as a beloved community. I'm going to turn it over to Dana to speak about the fifth principle.
Thanks for that, Kim. So as Kim was saying, ERB is this leaderless democratic organization. We are usually consensus-based and discussion-focused. We sit on committees and we all do our part. We utilize technology to provide clear and transparent communication, sharing materials and resources. All the money we raise during our shows goes into a fund, and we vote on our annual budget expenses, from percentages we donate back to the community in the form of free youth programming, to travel stipends, to instrument repair. So when you say, show me what democracy looks like, this is what democracy looks like. This is what it means to us. Jack?
Thanks, Dana. So I want to talk a little bit about the sixth principle and just share with you one of the many reasons that I keep coming back to ERB is that for me, it's a way that I can take action in the world. And in that way, I think the band really does embody this principle, which is working toward a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. I think it's so important to create spaces for ourselves and each other to gather and commune. But our impact is always going to be limited, and we can even reinforce systems of privilege and power until we act in the world outside these spaces to advance these principles of peace, liberty, and justice. ERB uses music to bring attention to people, places, issues, and ideas that have been marginalized. And we do it in a loud, rambunctious, but thoughtful way that I think really allows these messages to reach a broader audience and resonate in ways that are unique and powerful. Whether it's participating in protests against racial justice or for immigrant rights, or literally wearing our hearts on our sleeves, ERB works to put ourselves out in the world to draw attention and bring people into conversations about social justice. Now I'm going to kick it over to Kim again to talk about the last principle.
Thank you, Jack. So the seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of which we are all a part. So at this time, I'd like to talk a little bit more about our friend Greg, the man who I mentioned earlier, one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever met. So Greg was an 80-year-old retired social worker and washboard player. And as I said before, just one of the most beautiful people you would ever want to meet. Sadly, Greg passed away this fall. And a few months later, unfortunately, we lost another bandmate, this time to a young actress after a valiant cancer battle. So over the past decade, we have shared a lot with each other. We've celebrated many ERB weddings, held our friends' hands through divorces and life changes, and produced more than a dozen ERB babies. With Greg's passing, we experienced something new as a band, death and loss. The hole he left was gaping, but we relied on each other to pull through. We gave Greg a traditional New Orleans-style second-line send-off with a parade through the streets, which I'm sure pleased him very much. So when I think of the interdependent web of existence, I tend to think first about the physical environment. Maybe you do too. But for me, sound, and by extension, music, is a very real connector. Ephemeral and in the moment, music can connect us to our physical environment, other living things, our deeper selves, and the full range of human emotion. Music is a shared language that doesn't need words. Music is a connector between the members of ERB. It is a connector between ERB and our audience. And it is a connector to the joys and sorrows in our world, much like as we share in First You. Dana, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
So is one note really better than no note? Without a doubt. Like First You, we are breaking down the walls that have turned people away from participation in the first place, bringing more people to the idea, in our case, of musicking together. For us, ERB is this beloved community, as is First You. We are love. There is so much more that we could say, could talk all day connecting these pieces, but I'll just say that we're just so thankful for this opportunity to talk with you all today. And I'll leave you with the quote that music brings energy, strength, and healing to struggles for collective liberation. Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Today's hymn is one of the easiest ones in our hymnal to sing along with. Only 2 words change in each verse. So in ERB's spirit of any note is better than no note, even if you don't usually sing along with the hymns in our online services, this week, please sing. Clap your hands. Get up and dance. Grab an instrument. But most of all, sing, because any note is better than no note. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. Love like an ocean in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. Pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. Pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. Tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. Tears like the raindrops. Tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. Strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. Strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. Peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. Peace like a river in my soul. As we enter into our time of meditation today, we can reflect on some questions that are raised in the talk by Dana, Kim, and Jack. What are the ways that I can take new risks and participate in life in new ways, in the spirit of any note is better than no note? What are the practices in my life that help to make my illusion of separateness fall away, to help me to merge with the people and other beings and things around me? What are some new ways that I can put the UU principles into practice in my daily life? What are the ways that I can join with others, even in a time of social distancing, to create beauty in the world? Because, to quote Phil Oakes, who wrote some of the most enduring protest songs and some of the most beautiful poetry to come out of the 1960s folk music world, he said, "In such an ugly time, the true protest is beauty." We hope that you've enjoyed our service today. As a self-supporting congregation and a beloved, aspiring community, we rely on generosity and commitment to keep us vital and relevant. We invite you to practice generosity and dedication by going to www.firstunitarianprov.org and clicking where it says Give to support the mission and vision of this church. And now please join me as we extinguish our chalice. Carry the flame of peace, love, and hope until we meet again.